All right. Hey, so it's project time, huh? Cool. So here's the deal. You're gonna choose one of these two options. A couple years ago, this gal who's an education, I'm air quoting here, professional, told me that my projects, Jay, they're great because they're open middle, man. They're like open middle. The hell are you talking about? They're open ended. No, Jay, because you bring them back together at the end. They're open middle, man. And I went, uh huh. Uh-huh. I'm gonna have to cut you off. I think you've had enough. You need to go home, weirdo. All right. Anywho, so my projects are I like them to be a little open-ended. Sometimes there are some classes they're a little more structured. I'm changing this one up. I've done the same one I've done for the last few years. Last year or so. I'm sick of that one. I'm bored of it. It bores me, sir. Um, so I want this one to be a little more interesting. So, option A, you go to your favorite coffee shop or someplace where they serve something. Obviously, you got to serve something. Okay, I like the idea of a coffee shop. You walk in. From the minute you walk in the door until you are waited on, that's your wait time. Okay. Now we've talked about a distribution that describes this sort of thing. Okay. Now, can't have you all going to the exact same coffee shop. That's just ludicrous. Okay. But if this were the case, you walk in now. You don't have to be coffee shop. You go to Taco Bell. That's true. That's true. Okay. You can go to 7-Eleven. It doesn't really make any difference. The idea is how long a wait time. Now, I will say this: that some place like 7-Eleven is kind of boring because obviously you're wasting time getting your jerky and your big gulp. That's weird. So you could define wait time as the time that you are ready to check out until they help you. Okay, but I was thinking more along the lines from again, you walk into there. Now you could also do Chick-fil-A or someplace. You walk in the door, you stand there and you stare like an idiot at the menu for a minute, and then all right, now I'm ready to go. From that point until they serve you, okay, you could actually go, I suppose, and sit outside. Oh, it's a little chilly for this, and just watch the drive-through at Taco Bell. Okay, this would apply to that as well. And we're looking at wait times. Okay, and so I suppose you can go to, well, I don't know. I guess you go to Wendy's there in Wilsonville, sit in the Wendy's inside, eat your hamburger, and then look over at the Taco Bell drive-through. Interesting. Yeah, that'd work. Anyway, whatever. The idea is you're trying to find the number, basically, if you will, the mean number of customers per hour. You're looking at that kind of a situation there. But what we really are we're interested in, of course, is and we'll need that, of course, but then or an hour or half an hour, whatever. Now, of course, you're not going to do this multiple times. If you were really doing this for a study, you'd want to do this a bunch of different times. Of course, you'd pick a time frame. So let's say you went from noon to 1 or whenever. I think I said 7 to 8 here. And you'd obviously, you record how people came in, and then you do it for a bunch of days. Take a sample, if you will, random days. Obviously, weekdays, weekends, of course, are going to be different. So, we're going to have to assume. But we're just going to assume the one you did is representative. Okay? That's just because I think next term, next time when I teach this class, which is one I do all the time, I'm going to refine this. That's what I normally do to my projects. I refine them until I get sick of them, and then I throw them out and start over again. Okay? But this is my first attempt at it, so it's going to be good. And as a result, of course, I'll have some compassion on you here. You're going to assume there's one cashier. Again, this would be a poor job if it were, say, at the grocery store where there's a zillion checkouts. Although you could do it, it's not as good. So technically, this distribution, which I'm not going to say its name, we've already talked about it. You can look it up. It's a continuous one, but it's not named normal. Anywho, so you're gonna play with this, okay? Anyway, so then you're gonna figure that out, nice, and then you're gonna talk about, so what would the mean what would the mean wait time be? You can talk about that, and then you can go back and you can figure it out, and you can kind of see, um, you're gonna see how the wait time works, and you're gonna collect data. You're gonna see how that changed. Obviously, if it changed at a different time, if you went at a different time, let's say 4 to 5 in the afternoon, that's going to behave quite differently than 7 to 8 in the morning. Okay, the idea is you're going to collect some data, you're going to try to fit a model to it, and then you're going to kind of see on average kind of how well that model fits. So when you go back in a couple of days, and you do it again and you watch, but this time you're like about how long each person should wait for. So I'm sitting there on my phone going and go. And 25 seconds. All right. Oh, ding. And by the way, if the dude is sitting there going, I'm not sure what I want yet, that doesn't count. Okay, we're talking about from the time he walks in the door until the person says, "Can I help you?" That's what we're talking about, wait time. Okay, not these fruit cakes that take 3 hours to order their ridiculous cappuccino. Okay, we're talking about from the time you walk in the door until you order. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna fit a curve to it. Fit a distribution to it. We're gonna see. Then we're gonna go back, and you're gonna see how well it matches up. Okay, um, and then kind of work through the situation. Okay. What I would be really like to be able to see is for you to be able to say, "Yep, that is a pretty good deal." And then, of course, what could you do with this thing? Now, again, this is kind of an easy project this time. Once in a while, you will get in on the ground floor of one of my projects, and as a result, you'll find it to be somewhat interesting, okay, and easy. In the future, it's going to be interesting but hard, okay, because I'm going to take this up 3 or 4 notches. But the first time out the door, there's always a lot of bugs. So I learned several years ago. Keep it easy the first time, dummy. Keep it easy. You can add more as you go along. You don't want to make everybody cry the last week of the term. Okay. Um, would be kind of cool if you had some like video clips, like you could hear you haze out the person's face and they walk through the door. 2 minutes they stood there. Oh, you don't have to do that. I'm just saying, be creative with this a little bit, okay, and have a little good time with that. Step 2, or option B rather, bring in some data from your life. Work or personal makes no difference to me. It must be real legitimate data. I don't want you making crap up. All right. And like the other night I was playing like Fortnite or whatever the Sam Hill of the game we play these days, and blah this, that, and the other. And so I think it's about no, 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 no. Now, if you played some goofy game like that, and I have like a whole ream of data, man. It's like 800 zillion gigabytes of data I've collected. First of all, second of all, cool. Let's work with it. All right. But fair warning, I am not up on this weird. I'm not up on this stuff. Okay. I'm not up on it. So if you're going to come in and say, well, listen, I feel like, I want to do a regression and I want to like show that this is a function of this, that, and the other thing. And of course, blah, blah. And I'm like, how's that work now? And if it's going to take like, okay, I know I look old, but I feel like some days for some of this crap, I don't look as old as I really am by comparison. So if it's going to take you like 45 minutes to explain the thing, not sure I'm into it. Okay. Um, Again, keep in mind the point of this is why would I do this? So on the first one, obviously, you can think of a variety of reasons from a consumer standpoint. Why would I want to know that? From the manager's standpoint, maybe why wouldn't I want to do that? Down this deal, like, well, clearly, Jay, it says that on level 2 that if I do I'll have the most, whatever the Sam Hill I just won on this game. Uh huh. Uh huh. So you're going to tell you, so it's going to inform you as what to do. Got it. At least that sort of makes sense. Although, all right, it could be from work. Okay, you want to compare this or that other thing. My buddy, he brews beer at home. Okay, he's got a sweet setup in his garage. It's ridiculous and it's completely over the top, but it's pretty cool. It is over the top, and I've said to him on numerous occasions, Corey, it'd be cheaper just to go buy beer. And although I do appreciate what you're doing here, this is a lot of work. And that's a lot of work. So whatever. My other buddy, he used to brew, he still does brew kombucha. Um, and so if you had a couple of different processors brewing the same bat, what I want to say, they're following the same recipe. Maybe they're finding there's a difference in the pH between the two, or the alcohol content, or this or that. What can we do? Maybe there's some change. One of them used a different yeast in one versus that. Whatever. Okay, you can do a variety of things, friend. Don't really care. What I want is that I want it to be personal to you. Okay, and by the way, obviously, if you sign a non-disclosure agreement, then obviously we can't use your stuff from work. But as far as other numbers goes, I want you to know that I feel like a doctor. You've seen one, you've seen them all. So I used to teach a class about loans and stuff, and these people get all weirded out about using their exact numbers. I'm like, lady, I will not remember how much you said you paid for your house ever again. I swear to you, I will not, because I just don't care. I just don't care. So don't get all too weirded out about that. Um, you do not have to present the actual numbers on the board for the project. In other words, if it's a personal thing or a work thing, I don't care if you put the numbers up there. But if you want to crunch the numbers and have some idea of how could this, what I'd like it to be is like it to be useful. Okay, so I could use this, what I've learned from this project, and take it to another level at work or in my hobby or whatever it happens to be. Okay, and again, I would say, whether it's regards to regression, okay, you could go out, you could do that. You could find where one thing is a function of a couple of others, and you could fit a model to that. Cool. Okay. There might be a few caveats, but whatever. We'll have to talk about that. It's perhaps that you want to do something, and I say, listen, that's actually more of an analysis of variance problem or a NOVA problem. You're like, what's that? Well, let me clue you in, pal. And we'll help you out. Even though we're not covering that in class, we could even talk about that. I'd be okay with that. Okay. Let's see what else here. I wanted to say something there. Also, again, at the end of this, I want you to really think about, all right, so what would you do with this newfound info? Okay, that's kind of the thing. Again, that's the whole point, right? Remember, the statistics, it's all about making a decision. Okay, so that's what it's all about. And again, I honestly don't care. Now, one could see that if one, for instance, let's say hypothetically, was working on his senior project in electrical, blah, blah, this, that, and the other, and he was, Jay, could I do it with this? Which one would be better in terms of whatever? Yeah, yeah. The question, of course, would be how would you measure that? Okay. And so that's going to be a little tricky. So we're not going to do that probably this year, but in the future, you could kind of see where that would come into play. Because I would like say ahead of time, hey, you should start thinking about how would you collect some data earlier in the term, so I could work through this. It's a little late now, of course, to be doing that. Please, for heaven's sakes, ask before you get too far along. Like, I have this idea. What do you think? And the answer is I probably think it's pretty good if I understand it. Okay, if it's some situation where I have no idea what you're talking about, and yeah, then I don't know that I really like it that much. I go, oh, geez. So just be aware of that. I am, again, always, oh, you hippie. I'm always open to trying new things on these deals. So just be aware of that, but also be aware that if it's too out there, too weird, too strange, too whatever, that I cannot, like, you took some numbers and throw it in the deal. Well, that's nice. I could have made up some numbers to throw in the deal. I would prefer it be, as I said, I know I prefer it's going to be real stuff. Okay, so it's not gonna be some just made up random stuff. A guy several years ago in a different class, similar but different project, he came in. I said, well, where'd you get this data from? I want to see it. He's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, where did you get it? He's like, well, I just kind of made it up. I'm like, no, bro, that's not going to work for me. So if it is data that you have, then obviously you need to be able to share it with me. Okay, and so that data I want you to be able to share, and that'll be part of your project, and that'll be on both of them. Okay, I want to be links to that as well. PowerPoint, I say PowerPoint. I don't work for that idiot Gates, so I don't also work for the idiot Google feller either. So quote unquote PowerPoint. So if you want to use the Giggle version, that's swell. If you want to use regular PowerPoint, that's awesome too. If you want to do a PDF, as long as it's more or less in a PowerPoint scenario where I can go, oh yeah, here you are. Here I am at the coffee shop, selfie, and so forth and so on, yada, 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 down through the line. Okay? I don't really care. I just like that sort of a format for these problems so that I can see that you have addressed, in essence, everything in the thing. If you get to a spot where you feel like there needs to be a longer narrative piece, you can type that up, put that in a Word document, whatever makes you happy. Okay, whatever floats your boat on that game. Okay, Any questions, you let me know. And yeah, have some fun with it, huh? All right, bye bye.